In chat room, Carol asks, how do you develop young people's communication and leadership skills?
How to develop it?
Yeah, how do you, yes, how do you, working with young people?
Yeah, one way is modeling for them and working with them in how does one communicate, because they have, we learn behaviors, communication behaviors from the people we are around.
Right.
And parents would say things, people say things in rather negative ways. We want them to know that the word is important, and if you start out saying something in a positive way, you will get positive results. So it is a way of showing them when they say something negative, what is the response they get? And when they say something positive, what is the response they get? So teaching them how to communicate with each other in using language that is positive, that is helpful, and it can put people at ease.
And in that same vein, what do you say to them, young people, to remind them that they are important and that they do count?
You have to give them help them to develop a vision of who they are and what is available to them and how they can go and get it.
And Dr. Sorry.
What they need.
Sorry.
Like the skills that they need to get there, and show them models. I show them how, I always talk my story, that my father died when I was 9.
Wow.
And my mother had 7 of us. And that it was not easy, but the feeling that you got that you were wealthy or you were rich was what set us up for success. And being able to communicate with each other, to help each other, sisters and brothers, and help neighbors, so I tell my story, and that it didn't stop me from rising to the highest level that I could have got in the field that I chose to stay. Being a child with one parent for most of her life, and being a person who didn't have wealth, who didn't have a lot of money, or no money at all, because I had to start work at 16 and help my mother pay rent, which was just $18. It was the higher purchase house that we had in the housing scheme, the government housing scheme, and that was $18 a month. At that time, that was a whole lot of money, but I helped to pay that and to pay electricity some months and so on. So that, I can tell them my story. And that helps them to see that you too can make it, that you too can take this road that will help you develop in the best way that you can. Look, I was talking with some young people whose parents are incarcerated in Camp Street. Just over the holiday season, I held a workshop with children of prisoners, let's say that. And it was amazing to hear their vision of who they want to be. They all wanted to be somebody in one of the professions, doctors, nurses, lawyers. I was shocked at their perception of who they are and how they were going to get to where they want to be. And there was a role-playing session where some of them went out for 5 minutes into the back, less than that, to enact or to design or to role play, to discuss what they were going to act out. And they came up with activities that were going on within their communities. And it had to do with domestic violence and rape and child abuse. When they finished, I mean, I was surprised that they did all that in 5 minutes. They had police station, they had the whole community organized on the stage. I was shocked at these children who were from 8 years of age to 15, how they organized for this activity to take place. Then, to explain at the end of it what they just role played out there, I mean, I was blown over by their ability to articulate what they said was going on right now in their communities. But they meant that they must get out of of the situations, and that they were going to prepare themselves so that they can have different lifestyles. Amazing.
You speak quite a bit about children, their fears and insecurities. Can you speak a little bit about this and why it's critical for the development of Guyana?
Okay. Remember, a lot of our children now are coming up with parents who have not been trained in parenting, or do not understand what a 3-year-old should be doing and why the 3-year-old is all about no, or the 2-year-old is rebelling in some way or trying to develop the self. So parents beat our kids a lot. The children are really abused. You have women who are single parents. They heads of household. There are more women leading our households than men. There are more women, or the majority of parents, single parents, is a woman, or are women, the majority. And they have to work. So they go out to work and they leave the children sometimes unattended. Or they don't work and they have to have some set of persons finance their needs. So when they go out, when they go out to work, they have to leave the children alone. Children get into problems because they don't have the guidance and the support. It's not like long ago where we had neighbors who were taking care of children of the neighbor, or grandparents and aunts and uncles were around. This isn't the setting now. Then you have the parents who bring the boyfriends in. And I have many cases where these children are being sexually abused by the boyfriends. And you know the dangers of that and what these children are going through. I work with those children in terms of counseling, helping them to overcome some of the fears and insecurities that they have developed come up in those settings. Children who come out of divorce in other settings, and this doesn't have to do, this is right across the board, of children who are going through some stressful situations. You have children who have inherited deficits in the chemical balance of the brain, you know, in neurology, in psychology, to children who may have, for instance, attention deficit hyperactivity disorders. Children who, we have a large group of children now who are considered autistic. and parents don't understand, or teachers don't understand, or people in the community don't understand what that child is going through, or why the child is behaving certain ways. And so the child gets beaten or maligned, or even their own peers or their brothers and sisters abandon them in many ways, or, reject them. Dealing with that is not easy for a number of the children. So very early, children think of suicide in our society. Or children have many disorders that cause them to act in unwholesome ways. I mean, today I had a meeting with someone from a village who said at least 6 children in the school would react under pressure by trying to choke someone else, choke the teachers, or they break the glass, they try to jump through windows and so on. And if you have 6 children in a particular school or classroom behaving like that, you could imagine the frailty of that child and the people who are around that child.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't the kind of help available. I don't know how many people are trained in psychology in our country, not very many. Psychiatrists are rare. I think the government has 2. One is a foreign person and another is a local citizen. But those are some of the problems that we have with our children and people not understanding. So you find children reaching out to people who aren't going to be very helpful to them in a wholesome way. We have 14-year-olds who, for want of a better word, will prostitute because they want money. Some of them have said to me they want money to buy the drugs that they're on before I can help them to come off of marijuana and other drugs that they use. Many of these children are suicidal. One told me that she went to lay down on the road for a truck at night in the evening, for a truck to run over her. And instead of the truck running over her, it swerved from her. And she was very angry, so she's calling me at that hour to tell me what happened to her. Had another teenager who was picked up for wandering and put in one of her lockups, in Le Penitence lockup. And when the mother came to me to try to get her out and we made the arrangements, she didn't want to come out from the lockups. Why? I couldn't understand it. So another young lady who we got out as well at the same time came right over here to me, and I asked her, why didn't this other person want to come out? She said, oh, because it's fun in there. Because everything happens in one room. And, it's exciting because sexual activity also takes place.
Wow.
And this particular girl then got a girlfriend who was older than her and who recruited her so that when she didn't want to come out and leave the girlfriend, the older girlfriend, but she came out, went back to one of her high schools. She was very bright, and went back to one of her very notable high schools and started recruiting for the girlfriend, other young ladies. And the frightening thing, when the mother came to let me know what had happened, was that the school for the younger child, another very good school in our country, where the 6-year-old was going to school, The 6-year-old was carrying out the same activity because the bigger sister had recruited her. And then she went to her school that's in a class for 6-year-old children to recruit as well. The teachers found her doing certain activities with with all the 6-year-old children in the classroom. So they called the mother, and so then you have to work with all involved. So it's the child, the other children in the home, and the mother that had to receive therapy. These are some of the activities. These are some of the activities. Children, when parents aren't around, when parents aren't there to support them, or parents beat them a lot, there is more hate than love.
Wow.
There's more hate than understanding in the home. They turn to things that can relieve them, and a lot of them turn to alcohol and drugs. You have a lot of children, teenagers who are on drugs. I mean, I don't want to paint a picture of it's such a sorry situation. It's not every child, but it's enough children for you to worry about and want to do something about it.
Well,
want to make a change.
You've certainly answered some of my questions. One I was going to ask you is, what most frightens or gives you pause about the psychological health of some of the youth you have counseled? And another one I was going to ask is, what have you noticed in the young people you counsel that will surprise most of us? But I want to go to the chat room because Carol asked two questions. One, well, you answered one already. Is low self-esteem on the rise in Guyana, and how does it affect young people's behavior towards each other?
Well, you know what low self-esteem does, and that's why you see a lot of them cannot succeed in school. And the school doesn't always help because teachers don't know how to help them. They're not trained in enough of how to help change behaviors, behavior modification techniques. Teachers go there to teach a subject and not to help to develop a personality. You go into a classroom, it's the teaching of a subject and not development of a child.
And Jen asks, what are some behavior signs parents should not ignore?
Behavior signs?
Yes.
That parents shouldn't ignore.
That they should not ignore.
Sleeping late.
Uh-huh.
They should not ignore bedwetting. They should not ignore bullying or being bullied in schools. They should not ignore the child that drinks. You can see the signs. I don't know how some of the children that I work with, how their parents don't know that these children are on heavy alcohol. They drink every day. Or before I started working with them, they were drinking every day.
Dr. Harding.
And parents are not seeing the signs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Why do you care? It's so much. It seems overwhelming.
It pains me to see. I just want this country to be a great country. I just want children to have a good opportunity. I just want them to have a good life. I just want people, because if I could have it, why shouldn't they? And why can't they? If I could provide, there were difficulties, yes. I remember once seeing my son with shoes that were like flapping. And I was getting $800 a month working at the Ministry of Education. And I cried. I said, oh my God, the very thing I didn't want to happen when I studied and went to the best school that I could, Columbia University. I thought that going to the highest level, get a doctorate, I would provide. I would have money. I would make money. But I came home to work and I wasn't making money that was livable on, And here my son, and I said, oh my God, my son is going to school with shoes like that. You know, it was a wake up call too for me that I had to get a better job, and, while still helping people, working for the government and the people of the country, but I had to earn a better salary. His father was there, yes, and providing too, but we were both in the same situation, working in our country for pittance. That was a long.
I know
I mean,
you.